Episode 338, The Greatest Threat. This is The Change Underground. I'm your host, John. Decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil. Quote, the World Meteorological Organisation has warned that a warming climate event in the coming months, combined with human-induced climate change, will have far-reaching repercussions for health, food security, water management and the environment. The World Meteorological Organisation said people need to be prepared and that rising temperatures are moving us further and further away from the climate we are used to. End quote. And another quote, the strength and frequency of La Niña and El Niño were once determined entirely by natural forces, but now the climate patterns are showing the fingerprints of humans. A new study by researchers at CSIRO, that's the Commonwealth Science Industrial Research Organisation, set out to determine the impact of greenhouse gas emissions on the major climate driver known as the El Niño Southern Oscillation. Up until now, there have been limited understandings about the role climate change has already played out in so, with research primarily looking at future projections. Lead researcher Wenju Kei said the research yielded significant results, with evidence that El Niño and La Niña events have become more frequent and intense due to increasing emissions of greenhouse gases. End quote. So that's all good then. The situation has reached probably 10 years ago in reality, but the time has come for something to actually be done. For too long, climate measures have been subjected to political game playing. We did, to all intents and purposes, appear to deal with CFCs and the whacking great hole in the ozone layer over the Antarctic. I say to all appearances initially because it seems those wonderful folk between Mongolia and Vietnam have, in fact, been using chlorofluorocarbons as they are cheaper than the non-ozone destructive chemicals used in phone manufacture. But we had a win for a few years. Yay humanity. There's a link in the show notes to that. And the first quote of the episode was from an RTE article entitled One of Next 5 Years Set to Be the Warmest on Record, World Meteorological Organisation. And the second quote is from the ABC entitled El Niño and La Niña have become more extreme and frequent because of climate change, study finds. The point is, the chickens are coming home to roost. We know what to do. We have more than sufficient technology to do it, and yet we haven't done as much as we know we need to. It's a bit like staring at a blank page, knowing a 2,000-word essay is due in the morning, after we've done all the reading, annotated a bibliography, written out each paragraph heading, have the first and last paras done, so we know where to start and where we're going. But that first keystroke is terrifying. What if I've missed something? What if I'm wrong? So here we are. We have the wind farms ready to go, the solar PV panels are spreading like wildfire, probably not the best word to use at the moment. The software, and I do apologise to anyone who's under fire threat. The software to balance the grid, the hardware to build the batteries, either chemical, lithium-ion or water pumped hydro. We have more than enough evidence to start building soil carbon. And still we sit on our hands wondering, what if we get it wrong? Well, let's look at that. Worst case, maybe. Clean air, clean cities, clean water, healthier food, a fall in deaths from air pollution and dispersed energy generation of the sort of warmongering autocrat would have difficulty bombing into next week. Better case scenario, we start sucking carbon out of the atmosphere and sequestering it in soil, trees and aquatic vegetation. Well, living as we do in mid-2023, if in doubt, ask a robot. From Bard, the Google AI, after the prompt, give me 5 policy actions for governments to reduce greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. So 1, set ambitious emission reduction targets. Governments need to set ambitious targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. These targets should be based on the latest scientific evidence and should be consistent with the Paris Agreement goal of limiting warming to 1.5 degrees C. Invest in clean energy. That's number 2. Governments need to invest in clean energy technology such as solar and wind power. This will help to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and lower greenhouse gas emissions. Number 3. Support energy efficiency measures. Governments can also support energy efficiency measures such as weatherising homes and businesses. This will help to reduce energy consumption and lower greenhouse gas emissions in the process. Number 4, protect forests. Forests play an important role in absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Governments can help to protect forests by reducing deforestation and planting new trees. 5. Create a price on carbon. A price on carbon is a market-based mechanism to put a price on greenhouse gas emissions. This can help to reduce emissions by making it more expensive to pollute. It's all fine and dandy. So I went to the somewhat older and somewhat tired, perhaps, ChatGPT with the same question and got the following 5. Carbon pricing, renewable energy incentives, energy efficiency standards, sustainable transportation initiatives, reforestation and land conservation. So not a lot of difference there. And the thing with the current AI models is this. They were fed on all the internet. Garbage in, garbage out, perhaps? Well, it could have gone that way. But they seem to have hit upon some fairly obvious policy actions. The wisdom of the crowd in a different formulation, perhaps. As I say, we know what to do. We now know the consequences of not doing. El Niño, La Niña patterns, droughts, mega droughts, floods, Pakistan last year, many parts of the mainland here in the last 3 years of La Niña, forest fires in Siberia, melting permafrost, potatoes growing in Greenland, record droughts in Europe. Parts of northern Italy have received 6 months' worth of rain in 36 hours in the past week, with more rain on its way. The North Island of New Zealand has been in and out of flood all year, with more on its way this week. The evidence is before us. Agitate, speak, be relentless. This matters. I had a memory pop up on Facebook, as you do, from 4 years ago, and it's a quote from Robert Swan. The greatest threat to our planet is the belief someone else will save it. Decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil. Thank you all for listening. I'll be back next week. This has been a JM Podcasting Services production. Link in the show notes.